The escape pod shook violently as it broke through the moon's thin atmosphere. Hyun gripped the safety harness with white knuckles, watching the metal walls heat up to a dull red glow. Warning lights flashed across the control panel, screaming alerts he couldn't do anything about. The main ship was gone. His crew was gone. All he could do now was hold on and pray the landing wouldn't kill him. The impact came hard and fast. Metal screeched against rock. The pod tumbled 3 times before it finally stopped, leaving Yun hanging upside down in his harness. Blood dripped from a cut on his forehead, floating upward in the weak gravity. His ears rang, his ribs ached, but he was alive. He hit the harness release and dropped onto what was now the ceiling. The emergency kit was still intact. Hyun grabbed it and checked the contents. A plasma pistol with 2 charge packs, a water recycler, medical supplies, a distress beacon that would only bring more trouble if he activated it. This moon was deep in enemy territory. The Valeth Empire controlled this entire sector. Hyun pushed open the damaged hatch and crawled out into the pale blue light of the moon's surface. The landscape was nothing but rocks and dust, with mountains rising in the distance. 2 suns hung in the sky, one large and orange, the other small and white. The air was breathable but thin. Each breath felt like it wasn't quite enough. He had maybe 3 hours before the cold night came. The pod's emergency supplies wouldn't last more than a week. Hyun activated the small scanner from the kit. There was a structure 60 kilometers west, probably a Valeth outpost. Going there meant capture. Staying here meant death. Not much of a choice. Hyun started walking. The weak gravity helped, letting him take long, bounding steps, but the thin air made him tired quickly. He had to stop every 15 minutes to catch his breath. The orange sun moved slowly across the sky. He tried not to think about his crew, about Jiwoo, the pilot who always made terrible jokes, about Captain Minho, who had pushed Hyun toward the escape pod, even as the ship broke apart around them. He was thinking about them when the first shot hit the ground near his feet. Hyun dove behind a rock formation, pulling out his plasma pistol. 3 figures appeared on a ridge above him. They were tall, at least 7 feet, with dark purple armor that seemed to shift and move like liquid. Valeth soldiers. Each carried a weapon that looked grown rather than built, all curves and organic lines. "Human!" one of them called out in accented standard. "Surrender or die!" Hyun knew he couldn't win this fight. 3 trained Valeth warriors against 1 exhausted human engineer. He raised his hands slowly and stood up, keeping the pistol pointed at the ground. The soldiers surrounded him quickly. One of them took his weapon while another scanned him with a device that hummed against his chest. The 3rd soldier, who seemed to be in charge, studied Hyun with eyes that had no whites, just solid gold from edge to edge. "A human this far into our territory," the soldier said. "The Queen will want to see this one." They bound his hands with something that felt like rope but glowed faintly. It tightened when he pulled against it. The soldiers made him walk, prodding him with their weapons when he slowed down. They moved fast, even in the thin air. Hyun struggled to keep up. The outpost was built into the side of a mountain. It looked more like it had grown there than been constructed. Organic curves blended with the rock. Valeth soldiers moved along the walls, their armor letting them walk on vertical surfaces. Ships of strange design sat on landing pads, their hulls pulsing with soft light. They took Hyun through corridors that curved in ways that made his head hurt. The walls were warm to the touch. Other Valeth stopped to stare at him. Some looked curious, others looked hungry. Hyun kept his eyes forward and tried to control his breathing. The chamber they brought him to was large and circular. Maps of star systems covered the walls, projected in 3 dimensions. A command table dominated the center, showing fleet movements in real time. And behind that table stood the tallest Valeth Hyun had ever seen. She had to be at least 8 feet tall. Her skin was a deeper violet than the soldiers', and it seemed to glow faintly from within. She had 4 arms, 2 on each side, each ending in long, elegant fingers. Her face was sharp and angular, with high cheekbones and a strong jaw. Those same golden eyes studied him with an intelligence that made him feel like an insect under a lens. She wore armor that looked alive, black and silver, with patterns that shifted across its surface like oil on water. "A human," she said. Her voice was deep and resonant. "I am Queen Lyria, commander of this sector. You are on my ship, in my territory. Explain yourself quickly." Hyun straightened his back even though his legs shook. "My name is Hyun. I'm an engineer. My ship was attacked by your fleet. I was in an escape pod. It crashed on the moon below." "An engineer," Lyria repeated. She walked around him slowly, all 4 arms moving independently. One hand tapped against her armor, another held a data tablet. The other 2 hung loose, but Hyun noticed the claws on each finger. "What kind of engineer?" "Systems integration, power distribution, life support, some weapons systems." Hyun paused. "And armor. I worked on combat armor for 3 years before joining the salvage fleet." Lyria stopped moving. She stood in front of him, close enough that he had to crane his neck to look at her face. "Armor?" "Yes." She studied him for a long moment. Then she touched a section of her own armor near her shoulder. The black and silver surface flickered. "This armor has been with me for 17 years. It is bonded to my nervous system. It is part of me. 3 days ago, I took damage in combat. My armorers have tried to repair it. They have failed. The bond is weakening. If it fails completely, I will die." Hyun looked at the armor more carefully. Now he could see it. The patterns weren't just decorative. They were neural pathways, visible through the semi-transparent surface. And near her shoulder, some of those pathways were dark, dead. "Your armorers can't fix it because they're treating it like equipment," Hyun said before he could stop himself. "But it's not equipment, it's alive. It's part of you. You can't just replace damaged sections. You have to rebuild the connections, regrow them." Lyria's eyes narrowed. "Can you do this?" "I don't know. I've never worked on Valeth technology, but if you show me how it works, I can try." "And if you fail?" "Then I fail. But doing nothing means you die anyway, doesn't it?" A sound came from Lyria's throat. It took Hyun a moment to realize she was laughing. "Bold words from a prisoner. I like bold words when they come with bold action." She gestured to her soldiers. "Remove his bonds. Take him to my workshop. Give him access to the armor specifications." The soldiers looked uncertain. One of them stepped forward. "My queen, is this wise? A human? They are our enemies." "They are survivors," Lyria corrected. "And survival requires adaptability. This human will fix my armor, or he will die trying. Either way, I will learn something about his species." She looked back at Hyun. "You have 1 week, human. Fix my armor. If you succeed, you live. Perhaps you even earn your freedom. If you fail," she smiled, showing teeth that were far too sharp. "Well, let us hope you do not fail." The soldiers led Hyun away. As they walked through the corridors, his mind raced. He had bought himself time, maybe a chance to escape, maybe a chance to survive. But he would have to work on living armor bonded to an alien queen's nervous system, using technology he didn't understand. In a week. Hyun had faced difficult jobs before, but this might be the one that finally killed him. The workshop was unlike anything Hyun had expected. Instead of cold metal and harsh lights, the room felt organic. The walls curved smoothly and gave off a soft, warm glow. Workbenches grew from the floor like stone formations. Tools hung from living vines that reached down from the ceiling. Everything pulsed with a faint heartbeat. A Valeth technician waited for him. She was smaller than the soldiers, maybe only 6 feet tall, with light purple skin. She had the same 4 arms and golden eyes. "I am Rena," she said. I will show you the armor specifications. The Queen has ordered full cooperation. Rena brought up displays that floated in the air. They showed complex diagrams of the armor's structure. Hyun studied them carefully. The armor was built in layers. The outer shell was a crystalline weave that could harden or soften based on neural commands. Beneath that was a network of biosynthetic muscle that enhanced strength. And deepest, touching the skin, was a neural mesh that connected directly to the wearer's nervous system. It is grown, not built, Rena explained. Each armor is unique. It takes 5 years to grow a full suit. The bonding process takes another year. Once bonded, the armor becomes part of the wearer. It responds to their thoughts, feels what they feel. If the bond is broken suddenly, both the armor and the wearer die. And the damaged section? Hyun asked. Rena highlighted the shoulder area. This is where the neural pathways have died. We tried to replace them with new growth, but the armor rejected it. We tried synthetic bridges, but they failed within hours. Nothing works. Hyun zoomed in on the diagrams. He studied the dead pathways, comparing them to the healthy ones. Slowly, he began to see the problem. The armor isn't rejecting the repairs because they're wrong. It's rejecting them because they're foreign. The armor has adapted to Queen Lyria's specific neural pattern over 17 years. Any new growth has a different pattern. The armor treats it like an infection. Then how do we fix it? Rena asked. We cannot regrow what is lost. The Queen's own neural tissue cannot extend into the armor. No, but we can teach the new growth to match the old pattern. Hyun pointed at the healthy pathways. Look, every person has a unique neural signature. The armor learned Lyria's signature over time. We need to program the new growth with that same signature before we implant it. Make it think it's already part of her. Rena stared at him. That is not something we considered. Our armorers focus on the armor itself. You are thinking about the person inside it. Because that's what human engineers do, Hyun said. We build for the user, not just for the machine. Rena worked with him for the next 2 days. They carefully mapped Lyria's neural patterns from the healthy sections of armor. They programmed new growth to match those patterns. It was delicate work. One mistake could kill the new tissue before it even bonded. Hyun barely slept. He ate the strange Valeth food that tasted like metal and flowers. His eyes hurt from staring at the glowing displays. On the 3rd day, Lyria came to the workshop. Hyun heard her before he saw her, the heavy footsteps, the way other Valeth immediately stood straighter. She entered the workshop with 2 guards, but her attention focused entirely on Hyun. Show me your progress, she commanded. Hyun explained what he had discovered. He showed her the neural mapping, the programmed growth sitting in a tank of clear fluid, pulsing with its own faint light. Lyria listened without interrupting. When he finished, she nodded slowly. You have done what my own people could not. You saw the problem differently. She studied the new growth. When do we begin the transplant? The growth needs another day to mature, then we can attempt the procedure. Good. I will return tomorrow. Lyria turned to leave, then stopped. You work well, human. Better than I expected. Perhaps there is something to the rumors about your kind. What rumors? Hyun asked. That humans are weak in body but strong in mind. That you solve problems in ways others do not consider. That you adapt. She looked at him with those unsettling golden eyes. That you are either the most dangerous species in the galaxy or the most valuable. We have not yet decided which. After she left, Rena laughed quietly. The Queen does not give compliments easily. You have impressed her. That is dangerous for you. Why dangerous? Because now she will expect great things. And if you fail... Rena made a cutting gesture across her throat. The next day, the new growth was ready. Lyria returned, this time without guards. She sealed the workshop door behind her. The procedure will be painful, Hyun warned. I will need to remove the damaged section of armor while you are conscious. The armor must remain bonded to you throughout the process. If you lose consciousness, the bond might break. I have endured pain before, Lyria said simply. She moved to a chair that adjusted to her size. Begin. Hyun approached her carefully. Up close, Lyria was even more imposing. Her armor shifted slightly as she breathed. He could see his reflection in its surface. He looked tiny next to her. I need to access the shoulder area, he said. The armor will need to retract. Lyria closed her eyes. The armor around her shoulder peeled back slowly, revealing violet skin beneath. The dead neural pathways were visible as dark lines just under her skin. They looked like dead roots. Hyun pulled on surgical gloves and selected tools from the hovering vines. His hands were steady despite his nervousness. He had done repairs on combat armor before, but never with someone still wearing it. Never with the armor still alive. This will hurt, he said quietly. He activated a small cutting laser and began to remove the dead tissue. Lyria's jaw tightened, but she made no sound. Her other 3 arms gripped the chair. Hyun worked as quickly as he dared, removing each dead pathway carefully. He could feel Lyria's eyes on him, watching his every move. Why did you become an engineer? Lyria asked suddenly. Her voice was strained but controlled. Hyun didn't stop working. Talking helps with the pain? Yes. My father was an engineer. He worked on colony ships. When I was young, I watched him fix a damaged life support system. 200 people would have died if he failed. He didn't fail. I wanted to be like him. Hyun carefully extracted the last dead pathway. He died when a reactor exploded. He stayed behind to make sure everyone else could evacuate. A warrior's death, Lyria said. Honorable. He was no warrior. He was just a man who did his job. Hyun picked up the new growth from its tank. It pulsed in his hands, warm and alive. But maybe that's what humans are. We're not the strongest. We're not the smartest. We just do our jobs, even when we're scared. He began to implant the new growth. This part required absolute precision. Each new pathway had to connect perfectly to both the armor and Lyria's neural tissue. One mistake could cause rejection, or worse, create a feedback loop that would fry her nervous system. Lyria's breathing grew heavier. Sweat beaded on her skin. Her lower right arm reached out suddenly and grabbed Hyun's wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to steady him. Your hands shake, she said. I'm nervous. I've never done this before. Then why did you offer? Because you needed help, and because I didn't want to die. Hyun carefully connected another pathway. The new tissue glowed as it bonded. And because maybe I wanted to prove that humans are worth something. Worth more than target practice for your empire. Lyria was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, My people have conquered many species. We believed conquest was strength. That domination proved worth. Her grip on his wrist loosened slightly. But in 17 years of command, I have learned something. True strength is not in conquest. It is in understanding, in adaptation, in seeing value where others see only weakness. Hyun connected the final pathway. The new tissue glowed brightly, then settled into the same soft pulse as the rest of the armor. He held his breath. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the new pathways began to spread, connecting with the healthy tissue on both sides. The armor flowed back over Lyria's shoulder, covering the repair. How does it feel? Hyun asked. Lyria flexed all 4 arms. The armor rippled across her body, responding perfectly. The patterns flowed smoothly, no dark spots. She stood and moved through a series of combat forms. Fast, precise, deadly. The armor moved with her like water. She stopped and looked at Hyun. It is perfect. Better than before. The connection is stronger. Hyun let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Good. That's very good. Lyria walked toward him. Hyun forced himself not to step back. She reached down with one hand and placed it on his shoulder. Her hand was huge, covering his entire shoulder and part of his chest, but her touch was surprisingly gentle. You have done well, Hyun of Earth. You have saved my life. That creates a debt. She paused. It also creates a bond. In my culture, those who save a warrior's life are considered bloodkin. You are under my protection now. No Valeth will harm you while you remain on my ship. Does that mean I can go free? No. You are still my prisoner, but you are a valued prisoner. She smiled, and this time there was no threat in it. And you will continue to work for me. There is much human engineering can teach us. Much you can teach me. Lyria left the workshop. Hyun stood alone among the glowing tools and living walls. He had survived. More than that, he had succeeded. But he was still trapped on an alien warship, deep in enemy territory, with no way home. Still, as he cleaned up the workspace, Hyun found himself thinking about Lyria's words. About understanding and adaptation. About seeing value in unexpected places. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance here. Not just for survival, but for something more. The alarm woke Hyun from a restless sleep. It was a sound like bones breaking, repeating over and over. Red lights pulsed through his small quarters. He rolled out of the sleeping pod and grabbed his clothes. The door opened before he reached it. A Valeth soldier stood there, armor already sealed. Come with me. The ship is under attack. The Queen demands your presence. Under attack by who? Hyun asked, but the soldier was already moving. They ran through corridors filled with warriors rushing to battle stations. The ship shuddered around them. Something hit the hull hard enough to throw Hyun against a wall. The soldier caught him with one arm and kept moving. The command center was chaos. Displays showed ships swarming around them. But these weren't Valeth ships or human ships. They were something else. Organic-looking vessels that moved in perfect coordination, like a school of fish. Lyria stood at the command table, all four arms working different controls. Her armor had shifted to full combat mode, covered in sharp angles and weapon ports. She looked up when Hyun entered. Korthan swarm, she said. A hive mind species. They assimilate other races into their collective. They have been quiet for years. Now, they attack in force. She pulled up a tactical display. They have breached the lower decks. My warriors fight them there, but the Korthan adapt quickly. They learn from every encounter. Why did you call me here? Because your repair was not fully tested in combat. If the armor fails while I fight, I need you nearby to fix it. Lyria pulled a weapon from the wall and tossed it to him. And because you will fight beside us. If this ship falls, you die with the rest. The weapon was surprisingly light. It looked grown rather than built, with a grip that adjusted to fit his hand. Hyun had fired Valeth weapons in the workshop during tests. He knew how they worked. I'm not a soldier, he said. Today you are. Lyria moved toward the door. Stay behind me. Do not die. I dislike wasting useful resources. They moved through the ship with a squad of 6 warriors. Hyun noticed one of them was Doyun, the guard who often stood outside the workshop. Doyun nodded to him once. The others ignored him. The sounds of battle grew louder. Weapons fire, screaming. Something that sounded like metal being torn apart. They reached a junction where the corridor opened into a cargo bay. The lights were flickering. In the broken illumination, Hyun saw the enemy. The Korthan were nightmares made flesh. They looked like they had been built from pieces of different creatures. Some had too many legs, others had limbs that ended in blades or guns, or things Hyun couldn't identify. They moved in perfect synchronization, attacking as one organism. Lyria's squad opened fire. The Korthan responded instantly, splitting into two groups that flanked from different angles. They learned from the first attack and adapted their formation. Hyun stayed behind cover, firing when he had clear shots. His weapon punched through Korthan shells with bursts of superheated plasma. But for every one that fell, two more appeared. "They're learning our tactics too fast," one warrior shouted. Lyria's armor flickered, just for a second, but Hyun saw it. The new neural pathways were being stressed by combat. The armor was working harder than normal, and the fresh connections weren't fully mature yet. "Lyria, your armor!" Hyun called out. "I know! Keep fighting!" A Korthan drone broke through the line, heading straight for a group of wounded Valeth near the back of the bay. Hyun saw it happen almost in slow motion. The drone raised a weapon that crackled with energy. The wounded couldn't defend themselves. Hyun moved without thinking. He grabbed a damaged power cell from a broken cargo container. His engineering mind cataloged its properties instantly. Overcharged, unstable, ready to explode. He threw it at the drone and shot it mid-air. The explosion was bigger than he expected. The electromagnetic pulse spread through the bay, shorting out electronics and Korthan biotech alike. 6 drones dropped, their systems fried. The wounded Valeth stared at Hyun in shock. "Human knows tactics," Doyun said, impressed. But Lyria's armor flickered again, harder this time. She stumbled. The armor was trying to compensate for the EMP, but the new pathways couldn't handle the sudden load. Hyun ran to her, ignoring the danger. "I need to access the shoulder mount. We are in combat. And you'll die if I don't fix this now!" Lyria snarled, but commanded her armor to open access ports. Hyun's hands worked quickly, pulling tools from his belt. He had started carrying repair equipment after the first fix, just in case. The new pathways were overheating, trying to route too much power. He needed to balance the load, distribute it across the older pathways. A Korthan appeared behind him. Hyun didn't see it. But Doyun did. The warrior's weapon took the drone's head off before it could strike. "Work faster, human!" Doyun shouted. Hyun's fingers flew across the armor's surface. He rerouted neural connections, creating temporary bridges to bypass the stressed areas. The armor stabilized. Lyria straightened, her full strength returning. "Better," she said. Then she was back in the fight, moving like a storm. Her armor's weapons deployed, plasma cannons emerging from her forearms. She cut through Korthan drones like they were made of paper, but more kept coming. The swarm adapted to every tactic the Valeth used. When the warriors formed a shield wall, the Korthan attacked from above. When they spread out, the Korthan concentrated fire. They were learning too fast. Hyun watched the battle flow, his engineer's mind analyzing patterns. The Korthan came from 3 directions, but their reinforcements all came from one corridor. They were rotating forces, pulling back damaged drones to repair, while fresh ones attacked. It was efficient, almost mechanical. "They're rotating forces through the eastern corridor," Hyun shouted to Lyria. "That's their supply line. If we cut it, they can't sustain the attack." "That corridor is sealed. We cannot breach it." "No, but we can vent it." Hyun pointed to a control panel on the wall. "This bay has emergency venting protocols. If we trigger it, the explosive decompression will create a pressure differential. The Korthan in the corridor will be pulled into space. That will also vent this bay," Lyria said. "Not if we seal the blast doors first. We lose the bay, but we cut off their reinforcements. They'll have to retreat or die." Lyria stared at him. Then she laughed, that bone-deep sound that was somehow both terrifying and exhilarating. "You think like a Valeth. Doyun, get to that control panel. Everyone else fall back to the blast door line." The warriors moved as one. They retreated in good order, still firing, covering each other. Hyun ran with them, his shorter legs struggling to keep pace. A Korthan blade cut his arm, leaving a burning line of pain. He kept running. They reached the blast door line. Doyen was at the controls, his 3 fingers dancing across the display. "Ready? Seal doors," Lyria commanded. Heavy blast doors slammed down, cutting the bay in half. The Korthan on their side were trapped with the retreating Valeth. The ones in the corridor were cut off from reinforcement. "Vent the bay!" Doyen activated the emergency protocol. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. Then the outer hull opened. The sound was like the end of the world. Air rushed out with enough force to tear metal. The Korthan in the corridor were pulled into the vacuum, their bodies tumbling into space. Some tried to grab onto walls but couldn't hold against the pressure. In 15 seconds, the corridor was empty. Lyria's squad made quick work of the remaining Korthan on their side of the blast door. Without reinforcements, the drones fell quickly. Silence fell over the bay. The Valeth warriors breathed hard. 2 were dead, 4 more were injured. But they had won. Lyria walked over to Hyun. She looked down at him, her armor still in combat mode, still crackling with residual energy. "You exposed yourself to danger for my people. You destroyed enemy forces with clever thinking. You acted without hesitation." She placed one hand on his bleeding arm. Her touch was gentle despite her size. "You fought as a warrior fights." "I'm still not a warrior," Hyun said. His voice shook from adrenaline. "I'm an engineer who doesn't want to die." "Then you are a human warrior," Lyria said. "Because that is what humans do, is it not? You survive through cleverness. You adapt. You fight even when afraid." She looked around at her squad. "Let it be known, this human has proven himself in battle. He saved lives. He turned the tide of combat. He is to be treated with the respect due a warrior." Doyun stepped forward and placed one hand on Hyun's other shoulder. "I owe you my life, human. You saw the drone I did not. That is a debt I will remember." One by one, the other warriors approached. Each touched his shoulder. Each spoke words in their own language that Hyun didn't understand. But he understood the meaning: acceptance, respect. He was no longer just a useful prisoner. He was something more. That night, after the wounded were treated and the dead were honored, Lyria came to the workshop. She found Hyun cleaning his weapon, his injured arm wrapped in medical gel. "You should rest," she said. "So should you." She smiled. "Warriors do not rest after victory. We think about the battle. We learn from it." She sat on one of the benches, looking strangely small despite her size. "Today I learned something about humans. You are dangerous not because of your strength. You are dangerous because you think differently. You see solutions we do not consider. Is that a compliment? It is an observation, and a warning to myself." Lyria looked at him with those golden eyes. "My people have conquered many species, but we have always conquered through strength, through superior weapons and tactics. I wonder now if we could ever conquer humans, or if you would simply adapt until you found our weakness. You're asking me if humans could beat the Valeth Empire? I am asking if conquest is the only way species must interact." She stood. "Rest, Hyun. Tomorrow we will talk more. About human engineering. About your people. About many things." She left him alone in the workshop. Hyun sat there for a long time, thinking about the battle, about the way Lyria had listened to his tactical advice, about the way her warriors had accepted him. He was still a prisoner. But maybe, just maybe, he was becoming something else too. 3 days after the Korthan attack, alarms screamed through the ship again, but this time, there was no battle. This time, the alarm came from the medical bay. Hyun ran there with Doyun. They found medical staff swarming around a sealed chamber. Through the transparent walls, Hyun could see Lyria lying on a bed, her armor flickering in and out of existence. Her body convulsed. Medical displays showed neural activity going haywire. "What happened?" Hyun demanded. The head medic, a tall Valeth with silver-streaked skin, turned to him. The armor is dying. The damage from the Corfin attack was worse than we thought. The neural pathways are breaking down. If we cannot stabilize them, both the armor and the Queen will die. Let me see the readings. The medic hesitated. You are not medical staff. I fixed the armor once. I can fix it again. Hyun pushed past her and pulled up the medical displays. The readings were terrifying. The neural pathways weren't just damaged. They were attacking each other, sending conflicting signals. The armor was trying to protect Lyria, but in doing so, it was burning out her own nervous system. We tried sedation, the medic said, but we cannot sedate the armor. It continues fighting even when she is unconscious. The bond is too strong. Hyun studied the patterns. The problem was clear. The new pathways he had installed were strong, but they were too strong. Under combat stress, they had grown aggressively, trying to take over more of the armor's function. Now they were competing with the original pathways for control. The armor was literally fighting itself. I need to get in there, Hyun said. I need to manually interface with the armor while it's still bonded to her. I can balance the pathways, make them work together instead of competing. That is impossible, the medic said. To manually interface, you would need to access the deepest connection points. Those are intimate locations. No one outside the royal bloodline has ever touched them. Then she'll die. Is that what you want? The medic looked through the window at Lyria. The Queen's body shook again. Blood leaked from her nose. I will ask her. If she consents, you may try. They woke Lyria enough for her to understand. Through the pain, through the confusion, her golden eyes focused on Hyun. She spoke in her own language, words slurred by agony. The medic translated. She says yes, she trusts your hands. She says you are the only one who sees both the armor and the person. The medic paused. She asks that only guard Doyun remain outside her chambers during the procedure. She wishes no other witnesses to her vulnerability. They moved Lyria to her private quarters. The room was larger than Hyun expected, but surprisingly sparse. A sleeping platform, weapons on the walls, maps and tactical displays. This was not a place of comfort. It was a place of function. Doyun took his position outside the sealed door. The medic showed Hyun which instruments he would need, then left. Suddenly, Hyun was alone with Lyria. She lay on her sleeping platform, her armor flickering. Without its protection, Hyun could see how vulnerable she truly was. For all her size and strength, right now she was dying. Tell me what to do, he said quietly. The deepest connection points, Lyria's voice was rough, along my spine, at my temples. These are where armor and flesh join most closely. You must access them, rebalance the pathways there. That means I'll need to remove sections of the armor while you're conscious. Yes, and I'll need to touch you, directly, the neural interface points. Yes. Lyria looked at him. In my culture, these places are only touched by life bonds, by mates. To allow another to touch them is to show absolute trust. Hyun felt his hands start to shake. I'll be as quick as I can. No. Lyria's lower right hand reached out and caught his wrist. Her grip was weak now. Do not rush. Rushing causes mistakes. You will take the time needed, and you will not be shy about it. Do you understand? I understand. Lyria commanded her armor to retract from her back. The black and silver surface peeled away slowly, revealing violet skin beneath. Hyun could see the neural connection points running along her spine. They looked like small ports, each one glowing faintly with bioluminescence. Some of them flickered erratically. Hyun pulled on sterile gloves and selected his tools. He knelt beside the sleeping platform, putting himself at the right height to work. His hands hovered over her skin. You're shaking again, Lyria observed. I'm nervous. Why? You have done this before. Not like this. Before you were a queen, a warrior, strong. Now you're... Hyun paused. Now you're hurt, and I'm afraid I'll make it worse. Then let me give you strength. Lyria's upper left hand reached back and rested on his knee. Feel that? I am still here, still strong, still trusting you. Use that. Hyun took a breath and began to work. He started with the connection points at the base of her spine. Each one needed to be carefully accessed, the pathways inside examined and adjusted. He worked with a small neural probe, tracing the connections, finding where the new and old pathways conflicted. Tell me about yourself, Lyria said suddenly. Talking helps. What do you want to know? Everything. Where you come from, what you dream about, what you fear. Her voice was strained but steady. I wish to know the human who touches me in ways no one has since my mate died. Hyun continued working while he talked. I grew up on a colony world called New Busan. It rained every day. The air always smelled like wet metal and growing things. My mother ran a food distribution center. My father worked on the terraforming systems. He adjusted a neural pathway, and Lyria's hand tightened on his knee. Sorry? Did that hurt? Yes. Continue talking. It helps. I was good at fixing things. Even as a child, I took apart anything I could find. My parents thought I would become a researcher, but I liked practical work better. I liked making things work that were broken. Hyun moved to the next connection point. My father used to say that engineers were the real warriors, not because we fought, but because we built things worth fighting for. A wise man, Lyria said. What happened to him? He died saving others. A reactor was going to explode. He stayed behind to vent the radiation safely. Everyone else survived. You said this before. In the workshop. Lyria was quiet for a moment. My mate died similarly. Not in glorious combat, but saving others from a ship that was breaking apart. He held a bulkhead closed with his own body while others escaped. They say his armor wept when he died. Can armor weep? This one did. I felt it through the bond. I felt his death through the armor we both wore. Lyria's voice grew softer. For 3 years, I thought I would never feel anything through this armor except duty and battle. Then you touched it. And I felt something else. Hyun's hands paused. What did you feel? Care. Not just competence. Not just skill. Care. You were worried about hurting me. You were gentle because you saw me as a person, not just a repair job. She turned her head slightly to look at him. Do you know how rare that is? To be seen as a person first and a queen second? I didn't think about it. I just did what felt right. That is why it mattered. Hyun finished with her spine and moved to her temples. This required him to kneel beside her head, working at eye level. The connection points here were even more sensitive. He had to lean close, his face inches from hers. He could feel her breath, could see the patterns in her golden eyes. These points will hurt more, he warned. They connect directly to your brain. There's no way to avoid the pain. Then I will endure. Begin. He worked as gently as possible. Each adjustment made Lyria's jaw tighten. Her 4 hands gripped the sleeping platform, claws extending slightly into the material. But she made no sound. She just watched him, her eyes never leaving his face. Why do you do this? Lyria asked after a particularly painful adjustment. You are a prisoner. You owe me nothing. You could let me die and perhaps find a way to escape. Could I really escape? Be honest. No. Doyun would kill you before you reached the corridor. Then I might as well save your life. At least then I have a grateful queen instead of a dead one. Lyria smiled despite the pain. Practical. Very human. She paused. But I think that is not the only reason. No. Hyun admitted. It's not. He adjusted another pathway. You scare me. Your empire scares me. But you also treat me like I matter, like my skills have value, like I'm a person, not just a human. He paused. No one has made me feel that way in a long time. Not even your own people? My own people saw me as a useful tool, good at my job, reliable. But not interesting, not important. Hyun's voice was quiet. You see something in me that they didn't. I don't know what it is, but it makes me want to be better, to prove I'm worth seeing. Lyria reached up with her upper right hand. Her fingers, each one tipped with a sharp claw, touched Hyun's cheek with incredible gentleness. You are worth seeing, and more than that, you are worth knowing. The moment stretched between them. Hyun realized how close they were, how intimate this was. A queen and a prisoner, an alien and a human, two people from species that should be enemies. Yet here, in this quiet room, there was no war, no conquest, just two beings who had found something unexpected in each other. The pathways are balanced, Hyun said finally. The armor should stabilize now. Then move closer, Lyria said. Finish the work. I'm as close as I need to be. No, near, closer. Do not be shy now, human. You have touched me in ways no one else has. You have seen my vulnerability. Do not retreat from it. Hyun leaned in. He finished the final adjustments with his face so close to hers that their breath mingled. When the last pathway clicked into place, Lyria's armor flowed back over her skin, covering the connection points. The flickering stopped. The neural readings stabilized. It's done, Hyun said. You'll be weak for a few days while the pathways fully synchronize, but you'll live. Lyria's four arms moved as one, pulling him down to lie beside her on the sleeping platform. Not violently, not demanding, just gently, like an embrace. Stay, she said, for a moment. Let me feel that I am not alone. Hyun stayed. He lay there next to a queen who could kill him with one hand, next to an alien who should be his enemy, and he felt safer than he had in years. Outside the door, Doyen stood guard, and in the quiet of the royal quarters, something shifted. Something that would change everything. The morning after the repair, word spread through the ship like fire. The human had been alone with the queen, in her private quarters, touching her in ways reserved only for life bonds. Hyun felt the change immediately. When he walked through the corridors, warriors stared. Some nodded with respect. Others looked at him with something harder to define. Not quite anger, not quite jealousy, something in between. Doyen fell into step beside him on the way to the workshop. You should be careful, human. Not everyone approves of how close you have become to the queen. I was fixing her armor, saving her life. I know this. You know this. She knows this. Doyen's voice dropped lower. But others see a human touching a queen in intimate ways. In our culture, this means something specific. You have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. What kind of line? The kind that says you are either her equal or her enemy. There is no middle ground anymore. That afternoon, Lyria summoned Hyun to the command center. Her full council was assembled. 12 high-ranking Valeth, all warriors who had earned their positions through combat and strategy. They stood around the command table, their armor in full display mode, showing their ranks and achievements. Lyria stood at the head of the table. She looked recovered, strong, her armor gleaming. My council has questions about the human engineer. I thought it best we address them directly. A male Valeth stepped forward. He was massive, even for their species, with armor that was scarred from countless battles. His skin was dark purple, almost black. His golden eyes focused on Hyun with clear hostility. I am Commander Taijin, he said, second in command of this fleet. I speak for many when I say we are concerned. About what? Hyun asked. About you. About your influence on our queen. Taejin moved around the table slowly. You are human. Your species is weak. Yet somehow you have gained access to our queen that even her most trusted warriors do not have. You have touched her in ways that suggest a bond. You have influenced her decisions. This is not acceptable. I fixed her armor, twice. That's all. That is not all, Taejin said sharply. You fought beside her in battle. You advised her on tactics. You were alone with her in her private quarters for hours. These are privileges earned through years of service and proof of worth. You have been here mere weeks. Lyria's voice cut through the tension. Taejin, you overstep. Do I, my queen? Or do I speak truth that you do not wish to hear? Taejin turned to face her. In our culture, there are rules. A queen may choose any warrior as her life bond, but that warrior must prove themselves worthy before the clan. This human has not done so. He has not faced the trials. He has not earned the right to stand at your side as more than a servant. I never said he was more than that, Lyria said, but her voice lacked conviction. Did you not? Then why was he alone with you? Why do you seek his counsel before your own commanders? Why do you protect him so fiercely? Taejin's voice grew harder. I say this human has bewitched you somehow, used some human trick to make you see value where there is only weakness. Hyun felt anger flash through him. I used no tricks. I used skill. I used knowledge. I used the same thing that makes humans survive when stronger species try to crush us. I used my brain. Your brain means nothing without strength to back it, Taejin said. Then why did Lyria almost die when your armorers couldn't fix what I fixed? Hyun stepped forward. He knew he shouldn't. Knew this was dangerous. But the insult stung. Why did your warriors accept me after I saved their lives? Why does your empire keep losing battles to species you call weak? The room went silent. Several council members looked shocked. Others looked angry. Taejin's hand moved to his weapon. You dare, Taejin breathed. You dare insult us? Insult our strength? I insult your stupidity, Hyun said. You're so focused on strength that you can't see any other kind of value. You conquered dozens of species. But did any of them join you willingly? Did any of them teach you their secrets? Or did they fight you until they died? He looked around the room. I'm just an engineer, but even I can see that conquest isn't the same as cooperation. And cooperation makes everyone stronger. Enough. Lyria's voice was cold. Both of you. But Taejin wasn't done. If this human wishes to stand beside you, my queen, then let him prove it. Let him face the trials. Let him show that he is worthy of a warrior's respect. Or let him admit that he is nothing but a clever pet. The trials would kill him, Lyria said flatly. They are designed for Valeth physiology. Then he can face me instead. Taejin straightened to his full height. A duel. If he wins, I will accept his place at your side. If he loses, he returns to being a simple prisoner. No special privileges, no influence, no access to you. Hyun looked at Lyria. Her face was unreadable, but he could see the tension in her forearms. She wanted to refuse, but she couldn't, not without looking weak in front of her council, not without making Taejin's accusations seem true. I accept, Hyun said. Hyun, no, Lyria started. I accept, he repeated louder. When do we fight? 3 days, Taejin said with a smile that showed too many teeth. That gives you time to prepare, to train, to realize you have made a fatal mistake. He turned to the council. Spread the word. Let the entire fleet know. The human will face me in the arena. We will see what he is truly made of. The council dispersed. Lyria grabbed Hyun's arm and pulled him into a side chamber. As soon as the door sealed, she rounded on him. Why did you accept? He will kill you. Maybe. Maybe not. There is no maybe. Taejin has fought for 30 years. He has killed enemies with his bare hands. You are an engineer who has been in one real battle. Lyria's voice was anguished. I cannot watch you die. Then teach me, Hyun said. You said Valeth duels aren't just about strength. They're about proving your worth. So teach me how to prove mine. Lyria stared at him. Then, slowly, she nodded. 3 days. It is not much time. But I will teach you what I can. For the next 3 days, Hyun barely slept. Lyria trained him in combat techniques. Not to make him a warrior. That was impossible. But to teach him how to survive, how to read an opponent, how to use his smaller size as an advantage, how to fall without breaking, how to endure pain. On the second night, as Hyun lay exhausted on the training room floor, Lyria sat beside him. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. Why risk your life? Because if I don't, I prove Taejin right. That humans are weak, that we're only worth something when stronger species allow it. Hyun sat up slowly, every muscle aching. And because I want to be worthy of how you see me. How do I see you? As someone who matters, as someone valuable, not despite being human, but because of it. He looked at her. No one has ever made me feel like that before. I want to prove I deserve it. Lyria reached out with her upper right hand. She touched his face, her claws retracted, her touch impossibly gentle for someone so strong. You already deserve it. You do not need to fight to prove that, not to me. But I need to prove it to myself, and to your people. If we're ever going to find a way to end this war between our species, someone has to show that humans and Valeth can respect each other. Maybe that starts with me. You think very large for an engineer, Lyria said. My father used to say that the best engineering starts with a big vision. You work backwards from the impossible to find what's merely difficult. On the third day, Lyria taught him one final technique, a move that used an opponent's strength against them. It required perfect timing, perfect execution. One mistake meant death. This is a move I developed myself, Lyria said. I have taught it to no one else. Not even Taejin knows it, she demonstrated slowly. When he charges, you move not away, but into the charge. You redirect his momentum. Use his strength to put him off balance. It works only once, and only if he underestimates you. He definitely underestimates me. Good. Use that. Lyria pulled him close. All 4 arms wrapped around him in an embrace that was both fierce and gentle. But listen to me, Hyun. If you are losing, if you are dying, surrender. I will accept you back as a prisoner. I will find another way to help you. I will not watch you die for pride. It's not pride, Hyun said into her shoulder. It's something else. Something I didn't think I'd ever feel again. What is it? Hope. That things can be different. That your people and mine can find common ground. That maybe, just maybe, an engineer from Earth and a queen from the Valeth Empire can build something that matters. Lyria pulled back to look at him. Her golden eyes were wet. Hyun hadn't known Valeth could cry. You strange, stubborn, impossible human, she whispered. What have you done to me? The same thing you did to me, Hyun said. Made me believe in something I thought was impossible. That night, Hyun lay in his quarters and thought about the duel, about Taejin's strength, about his own weakness, about the technique Lyria taught him, about the fact that he might die tomorrow. But he also thought about the way Lyria looked at him, the way her warriors had started to respect him. The way even Taejin, for all his hostility, had offered him a chance to prove himself rather than simply executing him. Maybe that was something. Maybe that was the beginning of change. Or maybe it was just the foolish hope of a human who had fallen for an alien queen. Either way, tomorrow he would find out. The arena was packed. Every warrior on the ship who could attend had come. They filled the curved stands that rose around the circular fighting floor. The air hummed with anticipation and the sound of hundreds of Valeth voices. Hyun stood in the preparation chamber beneath the arena. Doyeon helped him check his light armor. Nothing heavy. Nothing that would slow him down. Just basic protection for his chest and joints. Against Taijin's strength, anything heavier would be useless anyway. "You do not have to do this," Doyeon said quietly. "The Queen would understand if you surrendered now." "Would you understand?" Doyeon paused in adjusting a chest plate. "I would understand that you chose life over pride. There is no shame in that. But would you respect it?" "No," Doyeon admitted. "I would not, which is why you will not surrender. You are too much like us, human, too stubborn to know when to quit." A sound like thunder echoed through the chamber. The crowd above was chanting. It took Hyun a moment to realize they were chanting his name. Not all of them, maybe not even most of them, but enough. "They chant for you," Doyeon said, surprised. "The warriors whose lives you saved, they want you to win." "Will that make Taejin fight harder or easier?" "Harder. He will see it as disrespect to him. But it also means witnesses will watch carefully. If he kills you too easily, too brutally, some will question if he truly earned the victory." The door opened. A fight coordinator entered. "It is time." Hyun walked into the arena. The noise hit him like a physical force. Hundreds of Valeth warriors, some cheering, some silent, all watching. The fighting floor was 50 meters across, made of some material that looked like stone but felt like metal. Weapons racks lined the edges. Across the arena, Taejin emerged from the opposite entrance. He wore full combat armor, black with red markings that proclaimed his rank and victories. He carried no weapon yet. He didn't need to. His 4 arms alone could tear Hyun apart. In the royal box above, Lyria sat on her throne. She wore ceremonial armor, silver and black, more ornate than her battle gear. Her face was a mask of composure, but Hyun could see her upper right hand gripping the throne's arm hard enough to leave marks. The fight coordinator stood in the center of the arena. His voice boomed through the space. "This is a challenge duel. Commander Taijin challenges the human Hyun's right to stand beside our queen. The duel ends when one fighter surrenders or dies. No interference will be tolerated." The coordinator looked at each of them. "You may choose weapons or fight unarmed. Choose now." "Unarmed," Taejin said. "I do not need weapons to crush a human." Hyun had planned to choose a weapon. A staff, maybe. Something with reach. But Taejin's words sparked something in him. Anger, pride, stupidity. Maybe all 3. "Unarmed," Hyun said. The crowd's noise doubled. Even warriors who had been silent started cheering. This was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Probably both. The coordinator raised one arm. "Begin!" Taejin moved immediately. Not a charge, but a fast walk, closing distance while staying controlled. He knew Hyun would try to avoid direct confrontation. He was cutting off escape routes. Hyun moved to the left, keeping distance. Taejin mirrored him. They circled each other. The crowd noise faded to background. All Hyun could hear was his own heartbeat. "You fight like prey," Taejin called out. "Running instead of standing." "I fight smart," Hyun replied. "You should try it." Taejin's eyes narrowed. He feinted left, then charged right. Hyun barely dodged. One of Taejin's arms clipped his shoulder, spinning him around. The impact felt like being hit by a vehicle. Hyun rolled with the momentum, coming up in a defensive stance. Taejin pressed the attack. A flurry of strikes, 4 arms moving in coordination. Hyun blocked what he could, dodged the rest, took hits that left him breathless. He gave ground steadily, letting Taejin push him across the arena. The crowd was chanting now, "Taejin! Taejin! Taejin!" A punch caught Hyun in the ribs. He heard something crack. Pain exploded through his side. He stumbled back, gasping. "Is this your strength?" Taejin's voice was mocking. "Is this what impressed our queen? Pathetic." Hyun's vision blurred. Blood ran from his nose. His ribs screamed with every breath. But through the pain, through the fear, he remembered something Lyria had said. "Valeth duels aren't just about winning. They're about proving your worth." He straightened up, despite the pain. "You want to know what impressed your queen? Enlighten me before I break you. It wasn't my strength. It was my refusal to give up." Hyun spat blood. "She told me about humans, about how we break and keep fighting. I didn't understand what she meant. I do now." Taejin charged again. This time, Hyun didn't try to dodge. He took the hit square in the chest, let it drive him back, felt his feet leave the ground, hit the arena floor hard enough to see stars. The crowd went silent. This was it. The end. Hyun forced himself to his feet. The silence broke into shocked noise. Warriors who had been cheering for Taejin suddenly went quiet. Those who had been cheering for Hyun got louder. "Stay down," Taejin said. "Accept defeat. There is no shame in losing to a superior warrior." "You're right. There's no shame in losing." Hyun's voice was rough. "But there's shame in not trying, in giving up, in proving you right." He took a step forward. "I'm just a human, just an engineer. I'm weaker than you, slower than you. I'll probably die here." Another step. "But I'm going to make you work for it, because that's what humans do. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. We're the ones who refuse to quit." Another step. "We're the ones who got conquered by 100 different species and somehow survived them all. We're the ones who built cities on worlds that tried to kill us. We're the ones who look at impossible problems and say, 'I'll try anyway.'" Hyun was close now. Close enough to see Taejin's expression change from confidence to confusion to something else. Respect? Fear? Hard to tell. "So come on, Commander. Let's see what you've got." Taejin roared and charged. This was it. The moment Lyria had trained him for. The technique she had taught him. The one chance he would get. Taejin came in fast, all four arms extended for a crushing blow. At the last second, Hyun moved, not away from the charge, but into it. He dropped low under Taejin's arms and struck upward with both fists into the commander's lower abdomen. The impact wasn't hard. Hyun didn't have the strength for hard. But it was unexpected. It threw off Taejin's balance just slightly. Hyun continued the motion. He grabbed Taejin's lower left arm and used the commander's own momentum to redirect him. It was the move Lyria had taught him, the one that used strength against itself. Taejin, moving too fast to stop, went sideways. His own charge became his undoing. He tumbled, forearms flailing, and crashed into the arena floor with earth-shaking force. The crowd erupted. Hyun didn't wait. He knew he had seconds before Taejin recovered. He threw himself on the commander's back and locked his arms around Taejin's neck. It was a hold Lyria had taught him, not a choke. Valeth physiology made that useless, but a position that made it hard for Taejin to use his superior strength. Taejin thrashed. He tried to grab Hyun with his forearms, but couldn't get the right angle. He rolled, slamming Hyun into the floor. Pain exploded through Hyun's cracked ribs. His vision went white, but he held on. They rolled across the arena floor. Taejin slammed him down again and again. Each impact drove the breath from Hyun's lungs. Each one broke him a little more, but he held on. "Release me!" Taejin snarled. "Surrender," Hyun gasped. "Surrender and I let go." "Never!" "Then we stay here until one of us passes out." More rolling, more impacts. Hyun's grip weakened. His vision darkened at the edges. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only hold on. Then Taejin went still. For a moment, Hyun thought the commander had passed out. But then he heard it. A single word, spoken quietly enough that maybe only Hyun could hear. Yield. Hyun released the hold and rolled away. He lay on his back, staring at the ceiling, unable to move. Every part of him hurt. He couldn't tell if he was breathing or not. The crowd noise was deafening now, but Hyun couldn't process it, couldn't understand what was happening. Then Lyria was there. She knelt beside him, all four arms reaching for him gently. Do not move. The medics are coming. You won. You insane. Impossible human. You won. Did I? Hyun's voice was barely a whisper. Taejin yielded. You defeated him. Lyria's voice was thick with emotion. You defeated a Valeth commander with 30 years of combat experience. You proved yourself beyond all doubt. Medics arrived, surrounding Hyun with equipment. They worked quickly, stabilizing his injuries. But Lyria didn't leave. She stayed close, one hand holding his. Across the arena, Taejin sat up slowly. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. His armor was cracked in places. He looked at Hyun with an expression that was hard to read. Then he stood. He walked to where Hyun lay surrounded by medics. The crowd went silent again. Taejin knelt on one knee. He placed his upper right hand on Hyun's chest over his heart. In Valeth culture, Doyun had told Hyun this was a sign of deep respect, of acknowledgement. You fought with the heart of a warrior, Taejin said. His voice carried through the silent arena. I challenged your worth. You proved it beyond question. I was wrong about you, human, wrong about your species. You have honor, you have courage, you have earned your place at our queen's side. He stood and turned to face the crowd. Let it be known, the human Hyun has passed the trial. He has proven himself worthy. Any who question his place beside our queen must first answer to me. The arena exploded with sound. Every warrior was on their feet, chanting Hyun's name, not mocking, not testing, celebrating. Lyria helped the medics lift Hyun onto a medical platform. As they carried him toward the exit, she walked beside him. In front of the entire assembled fleet, she did something unprecedented. She removed her ceremonial shoulder guard, the symbol of her rank, the mark of her authority. She placed it on Hyun's chest. This human has proven himself, she declared. Her voice rang through the arena. Not just to me, but to all of you. He has bled for our people. He has fought for our people. He has earned the right to stand at my side. Then she leaned down, close to his ear, and whispered something only he could hear. And in my heart, if he will have me. Hyun tried to speak, but darkness took him before he could answer. When he woke in the medical bay, Lyria was there. She sat beside his bed, all four arms folded, her head bowed. She looked exhausted. How long? Hyun asked. She looked up sharply. 2 days. Your injuries were severe. Cracked ribs, internal bleeding, concussion. You nearly died. But I didn't. No. You are too stubborn even for that. Lyria's voice was rough. Why? Why did you not surrender? You proved yourself in the first few exchanges. You showed courage. You could have yielded with honor. Because I wanted to prove something. What? That humans don't give up. That we're worth being allies instead of enemies. That your people and mine can respect each other. Hyun tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. And because I wanted to be worthy of you. Lyria was silent for a long moment. Then she reached out with all four hands and touched his face, his chest, his arms, gentle despite her strength. You are worthy, she said quietly. You have always been worthy. From the moment you saw me as a person instead of just a queen. From the moment you cared about my pain more than your own safety. From the moment you made me feel something I thought died with my mate. What did you feel? Hope. That I could be more than just a warrior, more than just a queen. That I could be seen and valued for who I am, not what I command. Her golden eyes met his. You gave me that, and in return, I give you this. She placed something in his hand. It was small and warm, glowing faintly. A piece of her armor, living tissue that pulsed with its own heartbeat. In my culture, when armor is shared between two people, it creates a bond, not as deep as the bond between warrior and armor, but still significant. It means they are connected, that they matter to each other. Lyria's voice was soft. I want to matter to you, Hyun, as you matter to me. Hyun closed his hand around the piece of armor. He felt it pulse in rhythm with his own heartbeat. You already matter to me, more than I thought possible. Then rest, heal, and when you are strong again, we will talk about the future, about what it means for a human engineer and a Valeth queen to care for each other, about what it means for our peoples. And if our peoples don't accept it? Lyria smiled. It was not her warrior smile. It was something softer, something real. Then we will prove them wrong, together, as we have already started to do. She stayed with him through the night, and for the first time since his ship had been destroyed, since he had crashed on that barren moon, Hyun felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt like he was home. News of the duel spread through both empires like wildfire. A human had defeated a Valeth commander. A human had earned a queen's favor. The story grew, with each telling, becoming legend. 2 weeks after the duel, as Hyun recovered in the medical bay, a human ship approached the Valeth fleet. It broadcast diplomatic codes and a request for peaceful contact, the first such request in 5 years of war. Lyria brought the news to Hyun personally. Your government wants to negotiate. They sent an ambassador, a woman named Nari. They probably want to use what happened as leverage, Hyun said. He could walk now, though his ribs still hurt. Turn me into a symbol. Is that bad? Depends on what they're trying to accomplish. If they want real peace, maybe it's good. If they just want better terms for the war. Hyun shrugged and immediately regretted it. Still too soon for that movement. Come to the meeting with me, Lyria said. I want your perspective. Your people know you are alive. Know you have influence here. Your presence will matter. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a small station in unclaimed space. Lyria brought a delegation of her best commanders. Taejin was among them. He nodded to Hyun with respect that still felt strange. The human delegation was smaller, just 5 people. Ambassador Nari led them. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray-streaked hair. She studied Hyun with open curiosity. Engineer Hyun, she said in greeting, Earth Command thought you were dead. Imagine our surprise when reports came through that you had become close with the enemy. Queen Lyria isn't my enemy, Hyun said. No, she leads an empire that has destroyed 17 human colonies, killed thousands of our people. You'll forgive me if I find your friendship concerning. Lyria's voice was cold. And humans have destroyed Valeth outposts, killed my warriors. This war has been brutal on both sides. That is why we are here, to discuss ending it. Nari nodded slowly. Indeed. Let's get to business then. Human Command is willing to consider a ceasefire. In exchange, we want all human prisoners returned, reparations for destroyed colonies, and assurances that Valeth expansion will halt at current borders. That is not negotiation, Taejin said. That is demand. You offer nothing in return. We offer to stop fighting. Given that we've been developing new weapons specifically designed to counter Valeth armor, I'd say that's worth quite a bit. The meeting dissolved into argument, demands and counter-demands. Both sides wanted victory terms, not peace terms. Hyun watched it happen with growing frustration. Finally, he stood. "This is stupid." Everyone stopped talking. Nari looked at him with raised eyebrows. "Excuse me?" "This is stupid," Hyun repeated. "Both of you are negotiating like the war is still winnable. Like one side can force the other to surrender. But you can't. Neither of you can. The Valeth are stronger, but humans are too adaptable to fully conquer. Humans have better technology in some areas, but the Valeth have numbers and experience. You'll just keep killing each other until both empires are weak enough for someone else to finish you off." "We are strong enough to continue," Lyria said. "Are you? What about the Korthan swarm? They attacked your flagship. How many other Valeth ships have they hit? And they're not the only threat. How many other species are watching this war, waiting to see you both weakened?" Nari's expression shifted. "He has a point. Intel suggests the Korthan have been expanding aggressively. They hit a human colony world last month. We barely drove them back." "They are a threat to both our peoples," Lyria admitted. "So work together," Hyun said. "Stop fighting each other and deal with the real enemy. The Korthan don't care about borders or territory. They want to assimilate everyone, Valeth and humans both." "You suggest an alliance?" Taejin asked. "With humans? Why not? You've seen what humans can do. I'm living proof. Human innovation combined with Valeth strength would be formidable. Probably enough to stop the Korthan completely." "Our peoples hate each other," Nari said. 5 years of war, thousands dead. You can't just forget that." "No, but you can move past it. Together." Hyun looked at Lyria. "Someone has to be first. Someone has to show it's possible. Maybe that's us." The negotiations continued for 3 more days. It wasn't easy. Trust was hard to build. But slowly, carefully, they found common ground. A joint military operation against the Korthan. Limited at first. Just one target, a Korthan breeding station that threatened both empires. If the operation succeeded, they would talk about more permanent arrangements. The mission came together quickly. 2 ships, 1 Valeth, 1 human. Mixed crews working side by side. The human crew was nervous. The Valeth crew was suspicious, but they had a job to do. Hyun worked with both engineering teams, helping them understand each other's technology. The Valeth were amazed by human energy efficiency. The humans were awed by Valeth biomechanical systems. Slowly, carefully, they started to respect each other. Lyria commanded the Valeth forces. A human commander named Jisoo led the human marines. They planned the assault together, combining Valeth direct assault tactics with human strategic misdirection. The attack on the breeding station was brutal. The Korthan defended fiercely, but the combined force was effective. Valeth warriors smashed through defenses while human tactical teams disrupted Korthan communication networks. When Valeth armor took damage, human engineers repaired it. When human weapons overheated, Valeth technicians cooled them with biofoam. They fought as one. In the middle of the battle, disaster struck. A Korthan assault split the force. Lyria's squad was cut off deep in the station. Hyun, monitoring from the command ship, saw it happen. "We need to extract the Queen," Doyen said urgently. "But the corridor is blocked. The Korthan have it locked down." "Then we go around," Hyun said. He pulled up station schematics. "There, a maintenance shaft. Too small for Valeth, but a human could fit. Get me a squad and a ship. I'm going in." "You are not a soldier," Taejin said. "No, but I'm the only one small enough. And I'm not leaving her to die." Jisoo assembled a team of 6 human marines. They stole a Korthan assault craft, with Hyun piloting based on quick instruction from a captured database. The craft was organic and disgusting, but it flew. They crashed through the maintenance shaft entrance, taking heavy fire. 3 Marines died in the insertion, but they got through. Hyun found Lyria in a defensive position with only 4 warriors left. She was injured, one arm hanging useless, but she still fought with deadly precision. I'm here to bring you home, Hyun said. Lyria's laugh was rough. You flew through a war zone in a stolen ship? You insane human? I learned from the best. Together, the mixed force fought their way back to the extraction point. Lyria's remaining warriors protected the humans while human marines used their weapons to cover Valeth advances. It was messy. It was desperate, but it worked. They made it back to the ships. The breeding station fell. The mission was a success. In the aftermath, as medics treated wounded from both species, Nari found Hyun in the medical bay. You did something remarkable, she said. You made enemies work together, made them trust each other. I just showed them what was possible. They did the rest. Earth Command wants you to come home. They want to make you a symbol of the new alliance, parade you around, show everyone that peace is working. And what do you want? Nari smiled. I want you to stay here. Keep doing what you're doing. Be the bridge between our peoples. The real one, not the propaganda version. She paused. I saw how you looked at Queen Lyria, how she looked at you. That's not political. That's not strategy. That's real. And real might be what we need most. 3 months later, a permanent alliance was signed. The Valeth Human Coalition. Not perfect, not without problems, but real. Both empires contributed ships and resources to a joint defense fleet. Both shared technology and knowledge. Both agreed to protect each other's territory. Lyria became the coalition's military commander. Hyun became the chief engineer of the joint research station they built in neutral space. The station was called New Hope, a name that made Hyun laugh but seemed appropriate. The station was beautiful. Human efficiency blended with Valeth organic architecture. It felt alive and purposeful at the same time. Scientists and engineers from both species worked side by side, learning from each other, creating things neither could have built alone. Hyun spent his days designing new systems, armor that combined Valeth biomechanical tech with human power cores, ships that used both species' strengths, weapons that could better fight the Korthan. And his nights, when Lyria was not commanding the fleet, he spent with her. They shared quarters on the station, a space designed for both of them. It had furniture that fit Lyria's size and Hyun's. It had human art on the walls and Valeth weapons mounted as decoration. It was neither human nor Valeth. It was theirs. One evening, 6 months after the station opened, Lyria found Hyun in their shared workshop. He was working on a new armor design, something special. You are always working, she said. Do you never rest? I rest, sometimes, when you make me. Lyria walked behind him and wrapped all 4 arms around him gently. Her size made it easy to completely enclose him. He fit against her like he was made to be there. What are you building? She asked. Armor, based on yours but adapted for human physiology. I'm thinking that if we can make the bonding process work for humans, it could revolutionize our combat capabilities. Ever the engineer. It's what I am. Hyun leaned back against her. What I've always been. I fix broken things, make them work better. It's how I ended up here, actually. Trying to fix your armor. And instead, you fixed something else, Lyria said quietly. You fixed me, made me see beyond conquest, beyond strength. You showed me that true power is in understanding, in cooperation, in seeing value in unexpected places. You did the same for me. You made me believe I was worth something, that humans were worth something, that we could be more than just survivors. Outside their window, ships moved through space, human vessels with their clean lines and efficiency, Valeth ships with their organic curves and power, flying together, protecting each other, working towards something neither could achieve alone. My people have a saying, Lyria said. The strongest armor is not what protects your body, but who protects your heart. I never understood it until you. We have a saying, too. Home is where the heart is. Hyun turned in her arms to face her. I crashed on a hostile moon, got captured by an alien empire, should have died a dozen times, but somehow I found home anyway. With you. Lyria leaned down, her forehead touching his. In her culture, it was a gesture of deep intimacy, of trust, of love. Near, she whispered in her language. Then in his, always near, never apart. Never apart, Hyun agreed. They stood like that for a long time. An engineer from Earth and a queen from the Valith Empire. Two beings from species that had been enemies. Two people who had found something impossible. They had found each other. And in doing so, they had started something bigger than themselves, a bridge between species, a hope for peace, a new beginning. It had all started with a human who crashed on a hostile moon, who fixed an alien queen's armor, who refused to give up even when everything said he should, who proved that sometimes the strongest bonds are formed in the most unexpected ways. And as Hyun stood in Lyria's embrace, surrounded by the fruits of their combined work, with ships of two species flying in harmony outside their window, he thought about his father's words. Engineers build things worth fighting for. He had built something worth fighting for, worth living for, worth believing in. He had built a future where human and Valith stood together, and it was beautiful. The end.